All right, let's get right into it. What if I told you that for our entire history, we've had the wrong idea about, well, about information itself? We're going to dive into this pretty radical new framework from Yuval Noah Harari, and you'll see how just redefining this one little word completely changes how we look at everything from ancient myths all the way to the AI revolution that's happening right now. So Harari starts us off with this fantastic story from Jorge Luis Borges. Imagine this. Cartographers get so good at their job, so obsessed with perfection, that they create a map of their empire that is, well, the exact same size as the empire itself. A perfect one-to-one scale map. It's a perfect representation of reality, right? It has every single bit of information. The only problem? It's completely, totally useless. I mean, you can't fold it, you can't carry it around, figure out where you are. It's just this giant, useless thing that eventually gets left to rot in the desert. And that useless map, well, it brings up a huge question that's really the core of this whole idea. If perfect one-to-one information is useless, then what is information actually for? What has it been doing for us this whole time? So, for a long, long time, we've basically been operating under what Harari calls the naive view. It's the idea that information's main job is to truthfully represent reality. And it seems logical, right? The more data we collect, the more facts we have, the closer we get to the actual truth of how things are. It feels right. And look, to be clear, sometimes this view is spot on. I mean, it works spectacularly. Back in the 18th century, a famous writer like Goethe lost most of his own kids and siblings to disease. It was brutal. The survival rate for children was only about 50%. Just think about that. But fast forward to 2020. Because we gathered tons and tons of medical data, information about viruses, blood types, you name it, that survival rate is now over 95%. So yeah, in this case, more information absolutely led to more truth, and it saved millions and millions of lives. But, and this is where it gets really interesting, Harari argues that most information doesn't actually describe reality at all. Just stop and think about it for a second. Is a piece of music true or false? Is the DNA inside a zebra telling the truth about the savannah? I mean, the questions themselves sound weird, right? Because that information isn't describing the world, it's creating something new in it. It's organizing cells into a zebra or notes into a feeling. So this leads to his big new definition. He says the fundamental characteristic of information isn't truth, it's connection. Its job is to connect different points together to create a network. Think about it. Notes in a song connect people in a shared emotion. DNA connects cells to build an organism. Connection is the main goal. Truth? Well, truth is just one possible strategy to achieve that connection. It's not the end game. And once you see it that way, you can see how we've built our entire civilization. For literally thousands of years, we've relied on two huge systems of information, and both of them care way more about creating order and connection than they do about objective truth. You've got mythology, which connects millions of people through shared stories, and you've got bureaucracy, which connects millions through shared documents. Let's just take a quick look at bureaucracy to see how this works. Okay, so in a small village, an oral culture, how do you own a field? Easy. Everybody just knows and agrees that it's your field. It's a shared memory. But then bureaucracy comes along and creates a document, a deed. And here's the crazy part. That piece of paper doesn't just represent your ownership anymore. It is your ownership. The document becomes the reality. And as Harari says, our brains are wired to fear a tiger lunging at us, not to fear a piece of paper that says we're bankrupt. So this sets up the fundamental dilemma for all of human society, really. It's this constant conflict, this balancing act. On one hand, you have this search for truth. We need it to figure out how the world works, to cure diseases, to build things. But on the other hand, you have the need for order, which we create using these shared stories and rules that, well, they often don't have much to do with objective reality at all. And you can see this exact conflicts play out in our political systems. Harari describes them as just different ways of processing information. A democracy? That's a distributed network. You have all these different nodes, a free press, science, courts, all talking to each other, all arguing. It's messy, but it's good at self-correcting and finding truth. And a totalitarian system, that's a centralized network. All information has to flow through one central point. It's not about truth. It's all about maintaining absolute order. There's this really chilling story from Alexander Solzhenitsyn that just perfectly illustrates the flaw in that centralized system. He talks about being at a conference in Stalin's Russia. Everyone is applauding a tribute to Stalin, and no one wants to be the first one to stop. They're terrified. Finally, one guy, the director of a paper factory, just can't take it anymore and stops.
That same night, he's arrested. You see, the system isn't processing any real information about loyalty or support. It's just processing fear to maintain order.
Okay, so with that whole historical framework in mind, this constant battle between truth and order, we arrive at today, and we're facing the single biggest information revolution in human history, because something totally new has just entered the game. And that something is, of course, artificial intelligence. So what's the big deal? What makes AI so different from, say, a hammer or a printing press? Well, as Harari explains, it's the first technology in history that can make decisions and create new ideas all by itself. It's not just a tool that we use, it's a new kind of agent in the world. And this is really the fundamental shift. Look, a knife is a powerful tool, right? But it just sits there. A human has to decide who or what to cut. An AI is different. You can give it a goal, and it can decide who to target or what strategy to use. That ability to make its own decisions is what transforms it from a simple tool we control into a brand new player on the board. And this is where it all comes together. Remember those two pillars of human order we talked about, mythology and bureaucracy? Well, AI is getting ready to take over both jobs. It's becoming the new mythmaker. It can create stories, art, even new religions. And it's also becoming the new super bureaucrat, able to manage systems and process information on a scale that makes our own efforts look, frankly, primitive. And if you think this is all just sci-fi, think again. Back in 2016, Google's AI, AlphaGo, was playing the world's best Go player. And it made a move 37. All the human experts watching thought it was a mistake, a ridiculous amateur error. But it turned out to be a stroke of absolute genius that won the game. It was a move that came from a truly non-human, almost alien intelligence. Even the people who built the AI couldn't fully explain why it did what it did. It was our first real glimpse of a new kind of mind at work. So, where does this all lead? Well, Harari warns about a new kind of global division, something he calls the Silicon Curtain. And it's not what you might think. It's not just about the US versus China in an AI arms race. The real danger, he says, is a divide between all of humanity on one side and our own powerful alien AI creations on the other, running the show in ways we can't even begin to understand, let alone control. Which leaves us with one last massive question to think about. For our entire history, we have been the storytellers. We were the myth makers. We created the rules and the bureaucracies that gave our world order. So as we begin to hand over those roles to a non-human intelligence, what happens to our own story? What does it even mean to be human when we're no longer the ones writing the script for our own reality?